हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। चंदन हियर।
हरे
चंदन
कृष्ण।
प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
श्रीवास प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्ण। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्। Okay, so continuing our last chapter, 18th chapter. Um, this is where we ended last time. Determination, Krishna consciousness, and we saw that um, when the mind is too much attached to material pleasure, then any kind of material pleasure, um, then one cannot attain determination to practice Krishna consciousness, from Bhagavad Gita. And we saw that by practicing Krishna consciousness even a little bit, one's determination will increase, and slowly over a period of time one can practice more and more. Now, the three types of happiness in three modes. So first is happiness of goodness, that which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awaken one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. So happiness in mode of goodness is poison in the beginning, nectar in the end, and awakens one to self-realization. Um, Now it's interesting because Krishna is using the term happiness. Now mode of goodness is the best, and Krishna is using the term happiness, which is poison in the beginning. Means Krishna's definition of happiness and our definition of happiness is something different. Krishna is telling even if it is poison, but if it is helping you in self-realization, um, it is actually happiness, in the mode of goodness. Um, One common example can be getting up early in the morning. To form that habit is a mode of goodness, but it becomes very difficult in the beginning to get up. But then once you come into a habit, it really helps you in your Krishna consciousness. Even um, A very common example which we have all experienced is chanting of the holy names. Um, my experience of chanting, in the very beginning, it sounds very good, and then there is an interim stage where we lose our kind of first hand experience of chanting, and then that is a phase of purification. Um, and all the anarthas comes out in that stage, and eventually the holy name being all pure purifies our heart, and then we again start gradually increasing our taste in the holy name. But so to some extent it is poison in the beginning, but the thing is, if we don't take it up in the beginning, then the nectar in the end that is waiting, that stage never comes. So this is Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. He says, even if bhakti is not joyful, it is still fruitful. So doesn't matter how much we enjoy, it is beneficial. Even if it seems poisonous, although it is the best thing ever. But even if does not feel like that, if it is not joyful, it is still fruitful. That happiness which is derived from the contact, now this is happiness in mode of passion, that happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects, and which appear like nectar at first but poison at the end, is said to be the nature of passion. So passion is immediate happiness but brings misery. All kind of um, material desires are by nature passionate, most of them. You've seen a picture, many different kinds of material desires. So it seems like the by the contact, um, um, there is immediate happiness, but then um, eventually it turns into poison. So that is, it's like another example which I may have spoken before, is like sugar candy, um, with, like, like there were some candies like eclairs and something. So you taste it, and then in the core part of the candy there is some milk or something which tastes very good. There were some candies like that. So this candy is like sugar candy, but the core part is poison. So there is an immediate happiness, all sense gratification, there is an immediate happiness. You see, anything that tastes good, mostly it is bad for health, mostly. So that's like mode of passion. It tastes very good, like all kind of sweets have a reaction, or if you fried items, they have their own thing. So it tastes very nice in the beginning, but the effect is something else. um, okay. And that happiness which is blind to self realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance. So, happiness in mode of ignorance is neither happiness in the beginning, nor in the middle, nor in the end. It is never a happiness. But for example, some people derive, they love to sleep. In other words, those who love to sleep, they derive lot of pleasure from sleeping. But if you see, there is no happiness in sleeping. Actually, it's just a relief from exhaustion. um, but some people just keep sleeping more and more, and even if their quota, actually our activities, if we have nothing to do, suppose, um, for example, if we sleep at 10 o'clock, and then our body needs 7 hours, so it's 5 a.m., and then 5 a.m., our sleep breaks. And then we are thinking, but what do I do now? There's nothing to do. So we'll keep on sleeping. And then it's 6 o'clock, 6:30, 6:45. Body rest is over. Whatever rest is required, body has got it. But then, because we don't have anything planned in a way, we don't know how to use the time, we keep on dragging on sleeping. So what we are doing is, we are actually increasing our misery, and what we are doing is, we are increasing our ignorance. Why some people sleep a lot? because they have trained themselves like that. So the nature of this world is every living entity is pushing himself or herself deeper into mode of passion and mode of ignorance. Why? Because there is no goal in life. There is no goal. There is no purpose. So just keep sleeping. I heard in one of the lecture, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, when he would sleep, anytime the sleep would break, he would get up. So a devotee is always busy. One of the quality of a devotee is does not waste time. So he is always busy trying to serve Krishna more and more. And um, um, the like Srila Prabhupada, one of the lecture he says he would sleep only 2 hours, and Prabhupada says just by practice. Just by practice. Another instance, Prabhupada says if you are sleeping more than 6 hours, then you are influenced by mode of ignorance. He says 6 hours is enough. Somewhere else I heard 6.5, 7 is also okay. But beyond that, it's certainly influence. And somehow we have trained ourselves in that way. What I personally do is I know how many hours my body needs. It varies from body to body. um, See, if you, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter, don't sleep too little, don't sleep too much, don't eat too little, don't eat too much. All are not conducive for your Krishna consciousness. um, in fact, when we eat too much, we sleep too much also. So what I do is I always set an alarm how many hours my body needs, and I try and I stretch myself not to exceed more, and the body gets trained. um, mm. But if one day I slept very less, the next day I allow myself to take more rest so as to balance. But yeah, sleeping too much is not good. In fact, my spiritual master is very heavy on sleeping too much. He said sleeping too much is even worse than illicit sex, he says. So sleeping too much is not good. Um, but at the same time, don't sleep too little. If you get up and whole day you feel tired, then you need more rest. But somehow train yourself not to exceed more. Then happiness from laziness is also mode of ignorance. Sometimes somebody says, "Can you do something?" And we are like, we feel lazy. We don't want to do it. Then we feel there is some happiness in not doing that and being lazy. And Krishna says, actually, there is no happiness in that. Krishna says this is happiness in mode of ignorance and illusion. Illusion is it seems there is happiness there, but it's not there. It just seems that there is happiness. Are you are thinking there is happiness? All those people who have those kind of happiness are not happy. Then how can you say that there is happiness there? So it's more of a illusion. Actually, happiness in this world is more or less an illusion. So these are happiness in mode of ignorance. And what is the result of that? And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, it bars our progress in Krishna consciousness. Passion, um, um, you run for immediate happiness, instant happiness, which may not be good for you, but that's okay. Instant happiness. Goodness, um, it's very difficult to form. Good habits, all good habits, whether it is Krishna conscious or non Krishna conscious, um, all good habits are difficult to form, but they are ultimately beneficial for you. Like people, like after certain age, some kind of physical exercise may be necessary, but to form a habit, um, it requires some goodness. Actually, another sign of passion is we start something enthusiastically, then very soon we give it up. But goodness is consistency. You start, and then whether it is easy or difficult, you continue. That is sign of goodness. There is no being existing either here or among the demigods in higher planetary system which is freed from the three modes bond of material nature. So Krishna is telling everybody is bound. Demigods are also bound, living entities, hellish animals. There is no being existing in earth or heavenly planets, demigods, who is free from three modes. So these three modes condition the living entities. In fact, there is something very surprising that I recently heard. As long as we are living in this material world, um, we will always be impure. Um, um, Shrimad Bhagavatam explained this was very surprising when I heard. You all may have heard about Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, I mean, what is the level of devotion of Prahlad Maharaj? Um, Lord Nrsimha Dev himself came from the pillar to save Prahlad Maharaj. And Shrimad Bhagavatam says, um, when Lord Nrsimha Dev touched Prahlad Maharaj was freed from all contaminations in his heart. And I immediately raised this question that what kind of contamination Prahlad Maharaj had? I mean, he's a Mahajan, he's a Paramhamsa Vaishnava. What kind of contamination he has? Because Bhagavatam says that he was freed from all kind of contaminations. And the reply I got is, as long as we are in this material world, there is always contaminations. This material world is by default it's like that. So what we have to do is, as much as possible, we have to cultivate our attachment to Krishna. And it is said that after we become sufficiently purified, in our next birth we take birth in a place where Krishna is currently performing his pastimes, and in association of eternal associates of the Lord, we get trained. And because of intense absorption in Krishna, because it is much easier to cultivate that level of intense absorption in Krishna when Krishna is there, when we are performing pastimes. Krishna arranged in such a way. But in this now, it's relatively difficult to develop attachment when someone is out of our eyes. Somehow this thing is there. uh, this was told by Bhakti Charu Maharaj. It's not so easy. So we take birth in a place where Krishna is currently performing pastimes, and then all that is remnants of impurities in our heart, that is also removed. Unless we are 100% cent percent, not 99.99, 100% purified, we cannot go back to spiritual world. We cannot go back to Godhead. There is no entrance to conditioned souls. So but to cultivate that level of attachment, that we can participate in Krishna's pastimes on earthly planet, because Krishna is always performing pastime somewhere. Krishna is performing pastime right now somewhere. These are called Nitya Leelas, means always eternal. Like Krishna appeared 5,000 years back on this earth planet, and then he disappeared. Then he went to another universe, and then performing. There are unlimited universe. So Krishna's pastimes are eternal, eternal in the spiritual world and eternally in material world also at different places. Um, um, the example given is sun. The sun appears somewhere, disappears at another place, and then when sun disappears from here, it appears at another place. So there is no birth and death of sun on a regular basis. Likewise, the Lord's pastimes are like that. The Lord disappears from here, simultaneously he appears and start pastimes at some other place, and he does that just to attract living entities towards himself. The living body filled with the three modes becomes successful by worshipping the Supreme Lord by prescribed activities according to one's acquired nature. This is described in the next section. Now, after explaining that no living being is beyond three modes, Krishna explains that how do I know which mode am I in? And what do I do to come out of that mode? Am I in mode of ignorance? Am I in passion? Am I in goodness? Am I in mixed mode, which is usually the case? Then what is the prevalent mode under which I'm working? Then Krishna explains that actually there are four kinds of people, and there are four divisions of people, and the division is made based on the modes. Every living entity living in this material world is under the influence of three modes. So there is um, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes or chastiser of the enemy. So we saw different things in three modes: determination in three modes, happiness in three modes, and worker in three modes, and action in three modes, and many things in three modes. um, then Krishna says everybody is within three modes. Now the question comes, which mode am I in, and how do I myself transcend the three modes? From 14th chapter, we know that unalloyed devotional service helps us to transcend the three modes. We have heard that. Some more detail here. So there is Brahmana, there is Kshatriya, there is Vaishya, and there is Shudra. Brahmanas are primarily in goodness. Kshatriyas are primarily mixture of goodness and passion. Vaishyas are mixture of passion and ignorance, and Shudras are ignorance. So they are called the four Varnas: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And they are not by birth, they are by qualities. Um, if, like Srila Prabhupada gives an example, if I am born in a Brahmana family, it's not necessary that I have to be a Brahmana. Um, in fact, today morning I was listening to a lecture by my spiritual master, and he was mentioning Ravana was born in a Brahmana family. Ravana. But Ravana personifies passion. That's why he abducted another person's wife, and the person happens to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was never satisfied. No matter how much he was enjoying, he was never satisfied, and he wanted something more, some more pleasure, some more pleasure. But he was born in a Brahmana family. Um, it's by qualities. Like Prabhupada gives an example: the son of a doctor need not be a doctor. Um, he may become a doctor, but it's not necessary that he is a doctor. He has to work in that direction. Likewise, the son of a Brahmana does not mean that he has to be a Brahmana. So these are four qualities, and we all lie in one of these four qualities. In fact, at one place, Srila Prabhupada says the goal of Krishna consciousness is to create Brahmanas. So, and now, um, are Brahmanas more conducive to Krishna consciousness? Well, the to some extent the answer is yes. Yes. Why? Because they are in mode of goodness. Mode of goodness, it is most favorable for Krishna consciousness. When we are in mode of passion, then we will be very fruitive, and we will look for material pleasures, more wealth, more fame, more prestige. When we are in mode of ignorance, then we'll be very lazy, and we will be very short tempered, agitated, angry persons. So naturally, it becomes more difficult for us to advance in Krishna consciousness. Nonetheless, there is a scope for everyone, and that is the discussion for today. Um, if anybody who chants the holy names, discusses Bhagavad Gita, visits the temple, um, um, offer obeisances, associate with devotees, hear about Krishna, they will come to goodness. So, Srimad Bhagavatam explains that whichever mode we are in, by the practice of devotional service, we'll come to goodness. And Srimad Bhagavatam explains, as we come to goodness, passion and ignorance reduces. Passion and ignorance are characterized by lustiness, greediness, and angriness. Prabhupada specifically writes lusty and greedy. So these are the qualities of passion and ignorance. So they tend to reduce. and then our life becomes more favorable to Krishna consciousness. So it is natural, it is obvious, and we have seen live practical examples how Krishna consciousness uplifts the modes. First thing that will happen is you will come to mode of goodness as you do it. You try that, you chant 16 rounds every day, and you, no matter um, how, whichever mode we are in, whatever habits we have, whatever, if you just keep doing it over a period of time, you will see it will bring you to goodness. It's miraculous. In fact, at one point of time, like kids also exhibit these different modes: mode of passion, mode of ignorance, uh, goodness. Different kids, some kids, they like to play very simple games, mode of goodness. Some like to beat others, that is mode of ignorance. And some are too much attached to their games, their toys, that is mode of passion. So different people exhibit different modes. One sannyasi, Prabhupada Maharaj, said, if you work on bringing your child, lot of parents have trouble with their kids. Why? Because the kids are in passion and ignorance. So they have lot of trouble dealing with their kids. So Prabhupada Maharaj says, bring your child to mode of goodness. If it it takes little effort, you can start with encouraging him. Krishna consciousness will bring you to mode of goodness, whoever we are, whether we are children, whether we are adult or old age. So somehow encourage the kids in. Now, how do we come to mode of goodness? Well, we have to practice devotional service. um, but how do I practice devotional service? You practice devotional service according to your nature. According to your nature. um, Whatever you do according to your nature, because if you don't work according to your nature, you will not be happy. If you do something according to what you like to do according to your nature, but you direct that propensity towards Krishna, um, then that devotional service will eventually bring you to mode of goodness. So Ramabad Maharaj says, work on your child, see what he likes to do, encourage him to do that in Krishna service. Like he likes to paint Krishna's picture. Whatever he likes to do, he likes to play video games. There are Krishna video games. He likes to play with toys. There are some toys which are Krishna conscious. So see whatever his nature is and somehow try to bring Krishna there. Somehow bring Krishna there. Give him the deities, let him take care of the deities, small dolls, deities. There is no offense if you don't feed or something, but he feel this is doll, this is Krishna, I must feed him, I must do arati. So like that he's contemplating on Krishna. Krishna is hungry. So the just the word Krishna is purifying him. So somehow do activities that are conducive. Okay, so let's see these four: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Brahmana, peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, religiousness are the natural qualities by which Brahmanas work. So whichever quality we lack, we are lying in the mode of passion ignorance. It's always mixed. Brahmanas, I have personally experienced, they're always peaceful. You try to agitate them, and they take it very lightly. So that's a Brahmanical quality. Um, um, the whole world is actually looking for peace, but because they are in mode of passion and ignorance, they cannot experience it. Material desire brings misery. So the whole world is running after material desires and they want peace. These two things doesn't exist together. They come to temple because the modes are always changing. When they come to temple, the temple purpose is a transcendental place. It's beyond the modes. So because it's transcendental, pure goodness, when they come to temple, they are influenced by the environment of the temple and they feel peaceful. But by nature, they are not peaceful because of material desires. One Mataji asked one question to Prabhupada Maharaj, Maharaj, why we are trying to chant 16 rounds, um, we are hearing Krishna Katha every day. We are trying to be very sincere in our Krishna consciousness. Then why am I miserable still? And Maharaj says material desires. So material desire is a cause of misery, is a cause of anxiety. And Brahmanas are by default peaceful. Then self-control. The um, they have good control over their senses. They have good control. Some people you will see, you can just watch it. Some people you will see, they have very good control over their senses. Whereas some other people you will see, they are very weak with the controlling their senses. So based on the modes. So Brahmanas have good self-control. Here self-control also refers to the mind. So um, um, so they don't become angry, they can control their emotions in a provoking situation, so they have good control over their mind. Usually what happens when the mind is agitated, disturbed, you speak out words that are harsh by nature. But if you have good control on your mind, um, even though inside you may be turbulent, you still remain externally calm. You have the strength to tolerate your mind. So that is also the sign of mode of goodness. Mode of goodness. Uh, when a person is in mode of goodness, he relatively does not commit many offenses, because of which his Krishna consciousness is relatively simple. Okay. Then there is austerity. Brahmanas are relatively austere. Austerity, actually, Prabhupada says austerity means activities done for the pleasure of Krishna. They are usually devotional people. Um, Now, Brahmanas, when I say Brahmanas are usually, I'm not referring to Brahmanas by caste. These activities were not found in Ravana or Hiranyakashipu, although they both were Brahmanas by nature. Um, um, Hiranyakashipu, he was son of Kashyap Muni. He was a great Brahmana, Kashyap Muni, but his two sons were demoniac. So austerity, then purity, then tolerance. Uh, they are honest. Um, um, they are eager to gain knowledge and wisdom. They like to read. They like to get understanding of scriptures. Reading scriptures itself is an act of is a Brahmanical act. Reading scriptures. Sometimes we like to serve, but we don't like to read. That is because of lack of sufficient goodness. When we are in a lot of passion, even though you start reading, after 5 minutes your mind will say, get up, do something. You cannot just sit and read. The thought that I have to read, there is the mind says a big no. So mind cannot perform activities which are Brahmanical by nature. Different activities have different natures. So reading is a Brahmanical activity. But what we have to do is, that's why we have to push ourselves. These modes are very heavy on us, kind of, they drag us and they decide our life. But when we come to knowledge, um, when we understand, um, then we know what is the right thing according to scriptures, and we force ourselves to do it. That's why so much emphasis on hearing and chanting, hearing, reading, chanting, hearing, reading, chanting. Keep doing this, and this will bring us to goodness, even if it is not our nature. Mm, Knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. Okay. Prahlad Maharaj, he was, how peaceful he was. Uh, if we are thrown from a cliff, how peaceful can we remain? We'll be full of anxiety. Prahlad Maharaj in that state also was completely peaceful. Whether he was thrown in snake, poisonous snake, He was thrown into the fire. He could maintain his peace, but his peace is not goodness. His peace is his pure devotion, because he was always depending upon the Lord. Self control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty. We can discuss in detail about Prahlad Maharaj in all these situations. He was thoroughly honest. Um, in one instance, Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj, "What did you learn today in your school?" And my spiritual master says Prahlad Maharaj could have told, "I learned politics and economics," and his father would have been very pleased with him. Like, sometimes we lie because we feel that it's okay, it will avoid some kind of disharmony. So it's easy to lie than to speak the truth. So let me just lie. So that's again not a good sign. That's again not a sign of being Brahminical. It's not a sign of goodness. But Prahlad Maharaj, he said, "My dear father, I learned Shavanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam." There are 9 ways to please Lord Vishnu, and starting with hearing about Narayan, chanting his names, remembering him. And when Hiranyakashipu heard all these things, he became greatly angry. In fact, he told his servants to kill Prahlad Maharaj. But Prahlad Maharaj still was not willing to lie. So he was that much honest. So all these qualities can be seen in him. Um, then Kshatriyas are heroic, um, a lot of strength, physical strength, powerful. They have very strong determination. Um, but this determination is a fighting kind of determination. Um, um, Brahmanas are also very determined, but their determination is more of spiritual determination. So they have determination. Like, I'll give you one example of Karna, as I wrote here. So Karna was by birth a Shudra Putra, son of a Shudra. He was very attracted to the archery of Parashuram. Parashuram is the incarnation of Lord himself. His name comes in Srimad Bhagavatam. And by default, Kshatriyas are under guidance of Brahmanas by default. So at one point of time, these Kshatriyas, because Kshatriya, now Brahmanas are called the head of the society. Why? Because they read scriptures, and they have a good understanding about what is right and what is wrong, what will help elevate the consciousness of the citizen in a spiritual way, what will help them. So Kshatriyas, because they are the leaders and they have passion, sometimes they may be deviated from the goal. So usually they always consult with Brahmanas. um, um, so at one point of time, the Kshatriyas became very rebellious by nature, and they would do things by themselves and they would not consult Brahmanas. And they started degrading themselves, and because they are the leaders, um, without a head, they started misguiding the whole population. So Parashuram became very angry. Like, one of the example is, there was a king. His name was Vena, King Vena. He was very cruel by nature. Sometimes he would even kill somebody else's children. But because he was the son of a king, nobody could touch him, and his father became very frustrated. He renounced. He went to the forest, and now the father has only one son, Vena, but Vena was very cruel by nature, so there was nobody else to take over the kingdom. So King Vena took over the kingdom, um, but then lot of theft, robbery, and many illicit activities, gambling, intoxication, illicit relationship, they all increased because the leader was like that. So Brahmanas became very upset. He would not consult with the Brahmanas. So the Brahmanas chanted the mantras and they killed the king Vena. So there is a story in Shrimad Bhagavatam. So Kshatriyas, if they don't listen to Brahmanas, um, then they can misdirect the society. And one of the example was Duryodhan. Why Krishna wanted to establish Maharaj Yudhishthir? Because Maharaj Yudhishthir was would always consult seniors. And he had high respect. He was a devotee of the Lord. Whatever Krishna would say, he would do, and he would protect dharma. But Duryodhan was very passionate, so he was only focused on his own selfish nature. That's why Krishna wanted to remove Duryodhan and establish Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Karna went to Parashuram, but Parashuram was very much against Kshatriyas at that time because they were rebellious by nature. So Parashuram has already killed all the Kshatriyas. So um, Karna went. Karna was also actually a Kshatriya. He was a fighter. So Karna went and he asked Parashuram, "Can you teach me archery?" And Parashuram said, "What is your Varna?" And Karna knew that he teaches archery only to Brahmanas. He doesn't teach to Kshatriyas. So Karna lied. And Karna said, "I'm a Brahmana." And Parashuram said, "Oh, I will certainly teach you. I'm here for the protection of Brahminical class." Um, Parashuram taught him all the archery. And at one point of time, Parashuram was going somewhere with Karna, and the demigods wanted to reveal Karna's identity. So at one point of time, Parashuram was very tired, and Parashuram said, "Can you get me some bushes? I want to take rest and I want to use them as my pillow." So Karna had lot of gratitude for Parashuram, and he said, "I will sit down. Why don't you use my thighs as your pillow and lie down um, using my thighs as your pillow?" Parashuram said, "All right." So Parashuram was taking rest, and demigod, he took the form of a wasp, Brahmar. Uh, it stings very badly. It's like a fly. And he came and sat on the thigh of Karna and started biting. And Karna started bleeding. Now it was painful, but because Karna by nature was a Kshatriya, he tolerated. He didn't want to wake up Parashuram or disturb Parashuram's sleep out of his gratitude. But then the wasp reached almost up to the bone of Karna, and lot of blood started oozing out. So um, um, Parashuram felt something wetness, and then he saw and he was shocked. This is blood. Then he got up and then he said, "What is this?" And Karna said, "I didn't want to disturb you. It a wasp came, and just I didn't want to disturb you." Um, then Parashuram told Karna that you lied to me. You cannot be a Brahmana. A Brahmana cannot tolerate so much pain. So you must be a Kshatriya. So Karna begged forgiveness that I wanted to learn, I wanted to use it for all good purpose. But Parashuram said, "Because you lied to me, I curse you that during the most needed time, you will forget your all the skills that I have taught you." So this is the kind of determination. Brahmanas cannot tolerate pain. They have determination in their own way, but these Kshatriyas have determination that they can tolerate. They are heroic, powerful beings. Like Bhima, Arjuna, they were all Kshatriyas by nature. Karna, Bhishma, all Kshatriyas. So heroic, power, determination, resourceful, because they are the king, they handle the resources. Courage in battle, they are very generous. Generosity and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Prabhupada says Kshatriyas are leaders of the society. They can rule, they can lead. The Brahmanas cannot do that. In fact, at one point of time, devotees told Srila Prabhupada, "We'll make you the king of the planet, and we'll take over the whole Earth planet. will take over, will make everybody into Krishna consciousness, and will make you the king of Earth planet. So, because Krishna consciousness movement was spreading so fast, so devotees started telling this to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said no. Prabhupada said, you become the king, and I will become the spiritual master of the king. So, indicating that Prabhupada didn't want like that, but he wanted to stay in the role of a Brahmana. I'll become the spiritual master of the king. You become the king. So the Kshatriyas are leaders and they are very generous. They like to donate. Resourceful, determination, heroic power, courage. So these are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriya. Then
Uh,
there is
Prabhuji, I
Sheetal.
have I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
One question like, see, Karna is a not a Kshatriya. Karna is a Kshatriya, but why Bhishma is also a Kshatriya? Why Parasuram teaches to Bhishma?
I don't know. Anybody has an answer for this question? Honestly, Sheetal Prabhu, I am not a uh, great scholar of Mahabharata, but
Okay,
I, whatever I know, I share.
okay.
If I'll try to find out the answer for you, Prabhu, once I have, I will tell you next week.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
No problem.
thank you, Sheetal Prabhu. Okay, so that's Kshatriya, and then there is Vaishya and Shudra. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for Vaishyas. Vaishyas, they love money. So they uh, they are very particular about a single dollar also. So they are Vaishya, they are business people. I have seen some business people. They always think about money and how to increase. This is one kind of Vaishyas. Another kind of Vaishyas are they do farming, grow crops and other things, and cow protection. These are all qualities for Vaishyas. Even Nanda Baba was Vaishya. So Krishna took that role also, although in spiritual world, these are transcendental. Only in material world, there are varnas. There are no varnas in spiritual world. And because in material world, there are these three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. There is no such thing in spiritual world. So cow protection, farming, business are the natural work for the Kshatriyas. Actually, Krishna, he took birth as a cowherd boy, um, from Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya. But when he went to Dwarka, he was reinitiated by his father Vasudev and Devaki, who were Kshatriyas. And that's when he became the king of Dwarka later on as a Kshatriya. So he had, but anyways, he's a supreme personality of Godhead, but just for the sake of an example. So farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for Vaishyas. And the Shudras, and for the Shudras, there are there are labor and service to others. Now everybody needs help. Vaishyas needs help in cow protection. They need help in farming. Kshatriyas need help, who will help them in controlling the affairs of the state. Brahmanas need help in their own sacrifices. So Shudras are present everywhere. They are do what they are asked to do. They are servant of the society. So Shudras are compared to the legs of the universal form, Brahmanas head of the universal form, Kshatriyas the arms because they protect the arms to the universal form, um, and Vaishyas are the belly because they provide. They grow grains, protect the cows, where we get the milk, um, earn business, and that's how we survive. So they are the belly of the Supreme Lord. It is all based on the three modes. Now, um, by following his quality of work, every man can become perfect. Now we see so many pictures here, and they all have their own qualities. Now Krishna says, by following his quality of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. So whether we are Vaishya by nature, we are Kshatriya by nature, we are Brahmana by nature or we are Shudra by nature, doesn't matter. Um, um, Krishna says every man can become perfect. Now, why we have this a particular nature based on our previous karma? Um, does being a Shudra, Vaishya, Brahmana, Kshatriya, any one of the Varna disqualify us from going back to Godhead? No. Is one more conducive than other? Probably yes, because mode of goodness is more conducive. But does it disqualify us? No. Krishna says every man can become perfect, whoever we are. Now, how this is possible? Hear this from me. This is actually very important topic. Those who seriously try to understand and apply, it's very helpful. By the worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. Two things. Um, by the worship of the Lord, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. In other words, there is a prescribed work for Brahmanas, there is a prescribed work for Kshatriyas, prescribed work for Vaishyas, prescribed work for Shudras. You worship the Lord through your work, and your work is based on your varna, whatever varna you are in. Whatever work you are doing, it should be based on your nature. It should not be copied from somebody else's work. Um, for example, a Vaishya want to become uh, a president of a country or a leader. Um, he will not be able to lead. Or a Vaishya want to become a Brahmana, he won't be able to act on the level of peacefulness, tolerance, self-control, austerity, study of scriptures, knowledge, wisdom. He will not be able to do that because that's not his nature. So whatever is your nature, you worship the Lord through your nature, through your nature. And the goal is do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. That's the goal. That's the goal of a varnashram system. um, like in the temple, those who are Kshatriyas, they are leaders of the temple. Those who are Brahmanas, um, they are more into scriptural side and um, other things, sacrifices and um, spreading the message of the holy name, other things. Those who are Vaishyas, um, they manage the finances of the temple, or they help in raising funds for the temple. So they are now, is Vaishya less important and Brahmana more important, or Kshatriya more important? Well, all the natures are required. All natures are required. And there needs to be Shudras serve who serve, who do whatever they are asked to do by the leaders in the temple based on the direction of the temple. So whether it is any organization or in a temple, wherever, all four natures are required. What if everybody becomes a Vaishya? Then who will do Brahminical job? If everybody becomes a Brahmana, who will maintain the temple? If everybody becomes Shudra, who will give guidance? Who will give protection? So all these four works are needed. Now, having that said, nobody is a emblem of complete Kshatriya, complete Vaishya, because our modes are mixed. So we have some part of Vaishya nature in us, some part of Kshatriya nature in us, some part of Brahminical nature in us, and some part of Shudra nature in us. We have all four. Um, one or the other nature will be more prominent than others. But the idea is, in simple words, Bhakti Sagar Maharaj says, do what you like to do, but do it for Krishna. Do it for Krishna. And if one is leading the temple, or raising funds for the temple, or doing Brahminical activities for the temple, all three make equal amount of progress if the intention is purely done for the pleasure of Krishna. if their intention, all three of them, is equally pure, they all become extremely dear to Krishna. These varnas Krishna does not see. Krishna just want you to be, you to act according to your nature, and you to act for his purpose. For his purpose, like for a family man in a grahastha ashram, every man has to exhibit all the four qualities. He has to serve, he has to raise funds, which is Vaishya job. He is a leader of a family, which is Kshatriya job, and he helps the family to become, to advance spiritually. That's the job of a Brahmana. So he helps the family to advance spiritually also. So all four nature have to be done, but different people will have different inclination, more or less, towards different activities based on their nature. Okay. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reaction. So, better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. So, this is the picture of a dog trying to become a singer. So be who you are. Be who you are. Better that you be natural instead of trying to copy somebody else. Don't try to become somebody else. Um, okay. Okay. One should not imitate another's duty. Why somebody imitates another duty? Well, material desire most of the time. Like somebody is doing brahmanical work, and he's getting some material benefit, people respect him. Oh, I want to do a brahmanical work. Somebody is lead a leader, and we think, oh, he has so much influence and so much control and so much power. I want to become him. And somebody is raising funds and doing much, like a different kind of service for the temple, and one may think, oh, he is really serving the temple in such a nice way, let me try to become like him. Sorry, but don't try to copy anybody. Try to be who you are, and be satisfied doing that. So one should not imitate another's duty. A man who is by nature attracted to the kind of work done by Vaishya should not artificially claim to be a Kshatriya or Brahmana. So there is a nice example which was told by Gaur Gopal Prabhu in one of his lecture. He's very famous. You can search him on YouTube. Practically every talk he has hundreds of thousands of views. So he's very famous. So he was serving under guidance of Gaurang Prabhu. Gaurang Prabhu is one of a very famous speaker, Krishna Katha speaker from Bombay. So very charismatic, and the way he speaks, it's a mix of all different emotions, and very effective speaker. So Gaur Gopal Prabhu was very impressed by the way Gaurang Prabhu would give lectures. So Gaur Gopal Prabhu said, for 5 years I tried to copy the style of Gaurang Prabhu. I tried to copy him. Gaur Gopal Prabhu says. And then after 5 years I realized that I cannot be him. I have to be myself. Then he says, it took me 5 more years to undo what I was trying to do myself artificially. What I was artificially trying to become, to undo that, it took me 5 more years. And then I started doing what is my own calling. I started doing that. Now, Gaur Gopal Prabhu is like um, highly successful. So the idea is, be who you are. Don't try to become somebody else. um, the spirit of comparison is also to some way or the other, many times it is born of this nature of trying to be somebody else. Because the goal is not to become famous. The goal is not to develop any material quality. Goal is to love Krishna. Goal is to purify our heart. um, no matter who we are, if we remain Krishna conscious, um, um, somehow keep Krishna in the center, we'll go back to Godhead. We'll go back to Godhead. Just be who you are as much as possible. Try to be Krishna conscious. Like one time, I really liked somebody said in one of the lecture. I heard Srila Prabhupada told devotees, don't try to be great devotees. Don't try to become great devotees. Try to become good devotees. So, great devotees means um, world famous devotees, or somebody who has done great things. Don't try to do great things. Don't try to become great devotees. Try to become sincere. Just um, um, as much as possible, chant attentively, hear more, read more, and based according to your nature, serve in the temple based on your nature. Do what you like to do it for the pleasure of Krishna. In this way, one should work according to his own nature. No work is abominable if performed in the service of the Supreme Lord. Um, in Krishna's service, Krishna is absolute. Everything connected to Krishna is absolute. So Krishna name is absolute. Krishna's form is absolute. Dressing Krishna, cleaning the temple, cleaning the pots, cooking for Krishna, um, or raising funds for Krishna, or whatever you name it. There are n number of activities. Prabhupada says there is no activity lower or higher because these are spiritual activities. They are done for the pleasure of pleasing Krishna because Krishna is absolute. Everything connected to him is absolute. In fact, a devotee who is beyond modes, who is beyond these three modes, pure devotee, he can do anything for Krishna. He can do anything for Krishna. Arjuna wanted to give up his nature as a Kshatriya and take the duties of Brahmana. And Krishna said, do your duty. This is one example. Arjuna said, I want to renounce, I want to go to the forest, beg, and work for self realization. And Krishna said, by nature, you are a Kshatriya, you should fight. So, emphasizing that be who you are, but Arjuna, fight while remembering me, fight for my cause. Don't fight because you want kingdom. So, don't work for sense gratification, work for me. When we work for Krishna, then there'll be no bondage in that work. But any work performed for sense gratification leads to bondage. Now, somebody may say, I don't like my duty because there are so many imperfections and so many mistakes I make in my own duty, or my duty is not conducive to Krishna consciousness. So, I don't like my duty. I like somebody else's duty. So Krishna says in this regard, every endeavor is covered by some fault. Just as fire is covered by smoke. Nobody wants smoke. Smoke is not at all useful. In fact, fire is useful. Like sometime um, in ancient time, people would burn the wood and through that they would cook. So through, like, I remember one time I was in Vrindavan, in Govardhan area, and I was cooking. So this cooking was on wooden planks and earthen pot. So as I was cooking, tears were coming from my eyes because so much smoke was going from the wood into my eyes, and it was real torture for me to cook for 10 minutes also. Everybody who was cooking in that environment was crying. So nobody likes smoke, everybody likes fire. But fire is covered by smoke. Likewise, every endeavor has some fault. Has some fault. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his own nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. Whatever you are doing, you may be imperfect. Whatever is your nature, um, in serving Krishna, you may make mistakes in your own work to serve Krishna. That does not qualify you to give up your service, even if there is fault. Because any service you take, fault will be there everywhere. Um, just like every endeavor is covered by some kind of fault. Prabhupada gives an example in the business field also. Sometimes a merchant has to tell so many lies to make a profit. If he does not do so, there can be no profit. Sometimes a merchant say, "Oh, my dear customer, for you I am making no profit." But one should know that without profit, the merchant cannot exist. Therefore, it should be taken as a simple lie if the merchant says that he is not making a profit. But the merchant should not think that because he is engaged in an occupation in which telling of lies is compulsory, he should give up his profession and pursue the profession of a Brahmana. This is what Arjuna was doing. Arjuna saw that my work is not conducive. As a Kshatriya, I have to kill. Let me become a Brahmana. And Krishna told him, how have these impurities come upon you? So one has to work according to one's nature. A Vaishya, Prabhupada says, has fault because he has to lie. A Brahmana, sometimes he may have to kill an animal during a sacrifice. Sometimes. There are such sacrifices like that. Every 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 duty has a fault. Suppose your um, friend is a, or your relative is a hotel owner, and you go and say, give me the room for 20%, and he would say, well, it just to maintain the hotel it takes me this much, I'm making no profit out of you, and this is the, he will just give you 5% discount. But this is, but he may be completely lying, which mostly he is. um, Still, do your work according to your nature. They are all emphasizing do your work according to your nature. Activity, now this is because many times we do some service, and because we face some difficulties in our service, some imperfections, some mistakes, there is a tendency that let me give it up, I don't want to do this. No, not like that. You do what you are destined to do. Somehow try to direct it towards Krishna. Activity performed according to one's nature for pleasure of the Supreme is not entangling. Even Arjuna fighting and killing, he would not be incriminated. Brahmanas, if they perform Ashwamedha Yagya or any other Yagya, they will not be incriminated if the purpose is for the benefit of the society. So, but anything done for personal sense gratification is a cause of bondage. Duryodhan was also fighting, Arjuna was also fighting. Duryodhan was fighting for kingdom, Arjuna was fighting for the sake of Krishna. Arjuna was not entangled, Duryodhan was entangled in the cycles of birth and death. One who is self controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyment, can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. So, how do we become now? If you do your work, there may be faults, which there always are faults in anything you do. Somebody may be taking care of kids, and their kids may have some bad habits. Now, you have a duty, there is fault. uh, you may say, well, this is not conducive to take care of my kids for my Krishna consciousness, so I will give this activity up, whatever it is. um, Whoever you are, whatever you are doing, faults are always there. You cannot be free from faults, they will exist. So Krishna is telling, whatever you are doing, you do thinking, my Lord, I'm doing it for your pleasure. Krishna, I am doing it for you. You will not be entangled. You will not be entangled. But if you do it because you're trying to get something material out of it, because you want to enjoy the situation, that will incriminate you. So Krishna says that's why unattached, You do your activity for my pleasure, don't be attached to the results. Usually people work in this material world and they're attached to the results. Usually that will cause bondage. So you do your work even if there is fault, unattached and self-controlled way. Self-control, because otherwise we will run towards attachment or try to fulfill some material um, desires through those attachments. In a self-controlled way, unattached, disregarding all material enjoyment, practice of renunciation, all the same principle. Do it for the pleasure of Krishna. It requires enunciation. Then the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. Then you will you will not get any reaction. Basically, if you do it in a mood of detachment for the pleasure of Krishna, there is no reaction. Arjuna had no reaction. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. This is, I think, the last verse. Let us see. um, One who is thus transcendently situated, transcendently situated, because whatever he is doing for the pleasure of Krishna. So transcendently situated, at once reaches the stage of Brahman, um, and becomes fully joyful. um, uh, Stage of Brahman means he is a liberated soul, because he is not entangled in this material world. He is doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna. So he reaches the stage of Brahman, which is a transcendental state, freedom from all reaction, and he becomes joyful. Because suffering comes because of sinful reaction. So no suffering, so he becomes fully joyful. Na sochati na kankshati. He has no desires and he has no lamentation. Sochati is lamentation, kankshati is desire. No lamentation, no desire. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu, he is equally disposed. um, he sees every living entity as spiritual part and parcels. So he sees every living entity equally. Mad bhaktim labate param. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Um, so um, this is something yesterday also I was discussing at some place. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, te tesham to antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam vridavrata. Where Krishna says, as one becomes free from all pap, all sinful reactions, he can worship me with determination. So when one attain a Brahman platform, or when one is a liberated soul, then in that state he attain pure devotional service unto me. In fact, Prabhupada says that pure devotional service begins after liberation, because when we are attached, even though we may be rendering devotional service, we may be expecting some material benefit from our devotional service. Um, okay, yeah, this is the last verse. Um, One can understand me as I am, as a supreme personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into kingdom of God. So the purpose is, whatever we do, if we are doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, that is devotional service. Devotional service is service rendered for the pleasure of Krishna. And by doing that, one can understand Krishna. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. My spiritual master says, not by jnana, not by karma, not by yoga, not by any other means, but only bhakti. This is what Krishna says here. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by devotional service. Devotional service is bhakti. Only by bhakti yoga can one know me. One cannot understand Krishna by any other means other than bhakti yoga. And if one practices bhakti yoga, then eventually he can enter into kingdom of God. Okay, so that's all. That is the end of this section up to 55 verses. And the next section is contains the essence of Bhagavad Gita, which is love of God. Okay, so we'll end here. Vancha kalpatarubhesha kripa sindhubhe eva cha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.